Good evening. This is Tyrone Holmes, and we welcome you back to the Trauma Network for Men. We thank you so very much for joining us again. We appreciate you tuning in to another broadcast here. We have our brothers back again with us, Brother Josh to my left, Brother Dwight, and also Brother Emmanuel is with us tonight as well. We feel that this network is very, very important, and we hope that you got something out of last week's program. We ask that you solicit your comments to us either on our Facebook page, our Twitter, or even on YouTube. You can do as well, because we feel that it's very, very important that we confront the issues that we are dealing with as men and as boys, and how our society has shaped us on how to act. Tonight, we're going to be dealing with men in trauma, how men heal. How men heal, because there's a lot of men out here that are hurting. There's a lot of young boys out here that are hurting, and they have no outlet and no place to go to talk about their experiences or what they're going through. So they feel if they hold it in, it's the right thing to do, and if that's not the right thing, you know. And I know Brother Dwight and Brother Josh and Brother Emmanuel, just before we came into our meeting facility here in Durham, North Carolina, at the Northgate Mall, a young man just killed somebody right here at the Bank of America Bank. Just when I came in, I seen them arrest the guy. So there's a lot of things that are going on in our society that society has put our men in a box, and they have to act a certain way, and that's the way, and that's not the way we should act. So this is what this broadcast is all about. This is what the network is all about. So tonight we're going to deal with how men heal. First thing we want to deal with: what is trauma? What is trauma? Trauma is a psychologically distressing event that is outside the range of human experience. Any sudden event that causes a person intense emotion can be classified as trauma. And many forms of trauma are unexpected, and the person is rarely prepared for the event. And I think that's very important. So tonight we want to dive into this, and we're going to get all the brothers to comment and share on this thing that we call trauma, and how we as men and boys, how we can heal from our traumatic events. First question we want to get into tonight too is, why should we focus on men, and why do you feel, brothers, that we need to focus on our boys and our men in our society when it comes to trauma? Brother Dwight?
Well, thanks, Tyrone. It's a pleasure to be back again.
Welcome, brother.
The reason why we should focus more on men is simply because if you think about it, men play a bigger impact in our home, in our community, or whatever establishment that we go to. Men, we are dominant creatures.
Yes, right.
So we was here to protect, provide, and also help out our family. So men right now, we at a critical stage of our manhood masculinity, by males, again, they commit majority of 94% of all the crimes. So there's a thing that need to be handled, or to identify the situation. Why are these many men committing these many crimes? Right. This is something to look into. There's something for reconsideration, just to see. It's something that's going on in our manhood.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Not here, but generation goes on. It depends on how deep, or the individuals, or whatever the program, how deep they need to go, or how deep they want to go to identify this problem.
Well, Josh, how do you feel about that, and why do you think it's important for us to focus on men issues and youth issues, because it seems like there is a problem in our society?
Well, thanks, Tyrone. I'm honored to be back tonight. Excuse me. I think we should focus on men and boys, because women have an outlet. They can talk. Us men growing up, we're told it's not okay to express our feelings. But when you get down into it, we really need to express our feelings, because, like Brother Tyrone, the killing that happened earlier, nobody knows why it happened but the guy that did it. And I'm pretty sure he was hurting and didn't have an outlet. So he decided to do the ultimate and kill somebody. So we need to focus on the trauma between men and boys, because I know it's hard to talk about trauma, especially because of me, and I'll get into it later. But when I first started talking about it, it made me a little better. But it really took me a long time to be able to open up. But if you expose that to young boys as they're growing up, they'll realize that, okay, maybe I do need to talk, and it may help me prevent from this happening in the future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think those are powerful words because if we don't address the issue, as Brother Dwight mentioned earlier, if we don't address the issues of men, our society is going to continue to go downhill. It's going to continue because we perpetrate violence against each other. We perpetrate not only each other, but against our women, which is because we do have a lot of abuse, men violating women, date rape, sexually abusing them, physically abusing them, beating them up, and you know, and those things are supposed to be trained, these things should be taught to our men at a young age in our society, but it's not being done. So what we do is we take that inner rage that's in us and we take it out on the people that we love the most. And those are the ones that's going to get hurt. And then we get hurt behind it because we are the perpetrators. And it makes us as men look like we are animals, we are monsters, we are beasts. That's what society calls it, right? We are less than human, right? That's what they call it. They call us monsters. You know what I'm saying? And some women call us dogs. You know, but in actuality, when you look at our actions are saying just that. So tonight, as we move on, we want to deal with the emotional side of abuse. Because here's the emotional part, and some of us have been traumatically affected by emotional things that happened in our family. Maybe there was a death in the family, maybe there was abuse in your family. It could have been drug abuse, it could have been alcohol, it could have been abuse on your family member, and you witnessed that. Anybody, anything about that, on emotional abuse?
Emotional abuse. There's a lot of that going around in the family, Brother Tyrone, on the streets and all that. So when you really talk about emotional abuse, you got to really get down to the nitty-gritty and talk about what is emotional abuse. Emotional abuse is when something happens within the family and it affects you inside, your emotions.
Right.
So if you experience emotional abuse, you're more likely to lash out against your teachers, girls, whatever, because you don't know how to channel your emotions.
That's right.
And you gotta find an outlet. For me, it was doing something that I love. I used to draw. So when I was drawing, it took away the urge to think about it. But as I started growing older, I did less drawing and stuff like that, and more stuff came to light that I didn't know before, but I know now.
Right.
But we really need to focus on all the types of the exposure to different types of trauma, especially number 3, which we'll get to in a little while. But that's all I have to say.
And as far as emotional abuse is a inability, emotion that someone has experienced by holding it in. And what I mean by that is that we all as males go through a lot of things.
Sure.
But the thing is, like what Brother Josh said this a few seconds ago about how do we maneuver and channel through those emotions. And by us being taught or always seen or hear when we're about to express our feelings by crying, don't cry, suck it up. Bam, you teaching that individual not to express his emotion.
That's right.
Or go through all the different cycles of what his emotion has.
Absolutely.
Then when you mentally or been through emotional abuse, it affects your decision making. Absolutely. Of how you make decisions.
Sure.
And by you being emotionally abused, you think something that's wrong, you think that it's right. But in actuality, that is not.
Right.
So that trauma effects of being emotional hurt can really manipulate the individual thinking that something that's wrong is right, which is really in reality that is wrong.
Absolutely.
Right.
And that is so true. And we as men have been victims of that all our life because we have been taught to hold in the emotion. You see what I'm saying? And each of us have not, a lot of us have not, I know I wasn't taught when I was younger, how to speak about how I feel, tell me what's going on. I didn't have parents around me to teach me that, so I held everything in. So what I did, I basically sheltered myself to this day, and I'm 52 years old, have sheltered myself from the outside world so I don't get hurt. You see what I'm saying? But sometimes that can be very, very dangerous because as we said before, when a man gets pushed to his limit or pushed into a corner, he only knows one thing to do, is to react with violence, verbally and physically, and then if not, he will use a weapon. And that's what happens. And yes, go Josh.
When I was growing up, I was taught how to express my emotions, but as a man, I couldn't.
Right.
Because, for one thing, the women don't understand. The women and the girls, the young girls, older women, they don't understand that we as men have that barrier. Like once we put up that barrier, it's really, really hard to break. Because you got to find someone you can trust who's not gonna throw a wrecking ball at it and crush it all. Because then you ultimately, if it's crushed, you end up committing murder, you end up committing suicide and stuff. Because that barrier is broken, and it feels like we've lost all our pride. We have nothing left to live for.
Right.
Because that barrier was broken. But we need to understand how to break down the barrier in order to make sure that we're teaching these young men and boys out here how to really understand emotions.
Alpha. Good words, Brother Josh. Okay, with that, we talked briefly about physical abuse as well as verbal abuse within, it don't necessarily have to be in your family, it could be in school, it could be on a job. All these things, because you see it all around us, that it happens and not, and we talked about this last week about, and I think we was talking about this, and we're going to talk about it a little bit tonight, about being diverse. It's a broad thing. Trauma is a broad thing. It just don't hit one person. It can hit anybody, any place, anywhere. Anytime you think about something, some kind of traumatic event is happening in our lives or around our society or where we live, and that's something that we got to be very, very careful. And now, to get to that point, how many of us, and maybe y'all out, some of you that's watching the video tonight, have experienced community violence or have seen community violence? It's around us. We just said a few minutes ago, a guy just gunned down somebody upstairs. Community violence.
Community violence plays a big impact in the community. And it goes to a wide range. It goes to when people trying to go out and have a good time, they can feel different about where they stay in. The public safety of the Bureau of the Police Department. And also too far as business. If you want to be a business owner, you have to, your departmentalization of location impacts far as is that a high crime area. But the community violence affects and impacts families, leaders of the community.
Absolutely.
Everybody want to see a reduction in crime.
Absolutely.
Everybody want to see everybody happy. Everybody want to have wake up and go outside without nothing. But we at a critical stage, as far as in our generation of our times, that through all these times of telling males to hold everything, we at the point where we at the core part where it's real hectic and critical.
Absolutely.
Crime after crime, every day after every day. I hear people saying, every time they turn the news, there's always something sad coming on, just like the Flight 370.
370 still, yes.
So that's still going on, and people thinking twice of where they live at and how should they proceed and stuff like that, about going about their day and stuff like that. And then you got people that's innocent people. Then they not even involved in criminal activity, but then they have to watch their back because they don't know if they a target or somebody. Again, somebody's hurt. They're holding everything in, and they lash out on them.
That's right. Josh, how about you? Maybe you have witnessed that or know people that seen community crime or been around it.
Yeah, Brother Tyrone. Community violence, like Brother White said, is a big thing in our community because 94. I can't stress this enough. 94% of the crimes are committed by men. Men on men violence is the #1 key for murders right now. Because when you got gangs out there, like Brother White said, you got gang shootings, innocent bystanders getting shot up for no reason because we turn to gangs because we think that it's a family. It's a home.
Yes.
But when you really get down to it, they're not your friends, and they're not there for you all the time. Because if you get into a fight, chances are your friends aren't even going to be there.
That's right.
You get into a shooting, they're not going to be there. They say they're going to protect you, but they really don't. They actually put you in harm's way. And yeah, I've seen community violence. I've seen, back when I was in Jordan High School, there was a big gang fight. They shut the school down. It's just like community violence it needs to stop. But it's not going to stop.
Right.
It's only going to get worse.
Right.
With these brothers out here committing rape, murder, sexual abuse, innocent children getting abused. I seen one lady in Walmart treat her kid like nothing. And that's all I got to say on that part.
I just want to elaborate a little bit as far as community violence. I understand that you know how business they say leadership starts at the top. So I just want to talk a little bit as far as from a law's point of view, things like that. Stricter laws is not going to benefit or reduce the crime rate as far as it's focused on male. I say as far as the law, they need to focus more on the program that's out here that's beneficial for the male.
That's right.
Every program not going to work for the same
That's
individual,
right,
but
absolutely.
it's enough programs out here for males for them to go through so they can see what they need to do, what issues that's at hand that they need to fix. And one thing that the leaders of this community can send signals to males is that when they promote more programs, they send a signal symbolic that they care about the community and also them too, even though that they live in a lifestyle that's against the law and things like that. So it's still certain ways that you can maneuver through certain situations. So in certain ways how you reach out to different people. And being a leader, you have to be unique and skilled enough to be able, to reach out to diverse people. They live in this type of lifestyle, or this lifestyle. This law make this group worse, this law make this people better. So you have to focus on, be careful about our lawmakers and our leaders. Be careful about how laws you make. And back in 2012, maybe a bill made a strict gun law in January. And if you think about it, if he's seen it throughout that whole year, 2012, after he made a strict gun law, the gun violence, the murder rates went up throughout that whole year until the end of the year after the strict gun law. So making strict laws is not the key.
And I think you're very right about that, because we have to get down to the core problem in our society, which is that men and boys have not been taught properly, and their problems are not being addressed in a proper way, so they feel the only way they know how to express themselves is through violence. And when they express themselves through violence, all it is a cry for help. But we don't hear that help. We don't hear that cry. All we hear is that that young man killed somebody, or he abused somebody. But that's what we try to do here at the MSF Fidelis, is to bring boys and men together where we can learn how to work together as a group of brothers that love one another, and bring them in, and we sit down and talk about our problems and not condemn one another, but we love them for where they're at, not for where they came from and what situation they're in now, but right now we love them for where they're at. And build on that, and once a brother or a man can see that he has somebody they can trust in, then we can start solving those problems. But men feel they don't have nobody they can trust or talk to. So that's what brings us back to that problem again. So, and I know we want to move through the program, and it's getting very deep, and I appreciate what the brother's insight is on what's going on. And I know you have heard the community violence, the Navy Yard in Washington happened a few months ago. Sandy Hook with the kids, the young boy, Adam Lanza, with that situation. James Holmes with the theater situation. And just yesterday, the young man in Pennsylvania and the stabbing. There's Fort Hood. Matter of fact, that just happened 2 weeks ago. Every day you're going to hear of crime in the community or within the country. Why? Because men do not know how to express themselves, only through violence. So those are things that we're going to have to address. But just like Brother Dwight said, we need to focus on the programs that are here for men. Women, get your men, if you're in this area, in the dorm area, get them here to the MSF Fidelis, where we love each other, we can trust one another, we can talk about our problems. But if you're not in this area, there got to be programs wherever you're at around the country. If there are men programs, support those men programs and get those boys and those men in there to help them, because they need help. All right? Why is trauma so important? Why is trauma so important, you feel?
I feel like trauma is important because, again, it can impact an individual very negatively if they not being taught or skilled to handle the issues and things that they went through.
That's right.
Like for me, I'm gonna get a little bit personal. I was waiting to get more deep about it, but like for me, I was abused by both my mother and my father.
Okay.
So this what caught my attention towards the game.
Okay.
So when I look outside, I see them, they all together, they all hanging out. They handle their business when people approach them. So I felt like, well, that's what I want to be. As far as protection, love, and filling that gap what my mother and my father didn't do. So after that trauma event experience from them, and I held it in because I felt like that I couldn't talk to nobody, or I felt like that nobody was out there